Hi, I'm Gabby. Welcome to the second of 2 solo episodes dedicated to modern dating. Lessons on love bombing, breadcrumbs, ghosting, and moving on. The Happier Life Project podcast is brought to you by the free, award-winning mental health and wellness app, My Possible Self. And as we covered in last week's episode, the correlation between mental and emotional health and dating and relationships is intrinsically linked. If you haven't checked out last week's episode yet, I do recommend that you listen to that first. We looked at the psychology behind those who love bomb, breadcrumb and ghost, and how we can spot the red flags and better emotionally equip ourselves if we have been on the receiving end of this type of behaviour. In today's episode, we are going to pick up where I left off and explore the emotionally unavailable and avoidant types. We'll also look at how to stop the obsessive thoughts if we are struggling to get that person out of our head. And then, if we have been left hurt by said love bomber, breadcrumber or ghoster, and our self-esteem and self-worth has been shattered, I'm going to share some tools and techniques to help you build yourself back up and get into a more positive mindset so we can heal and learn from the experience and move forward in our love life to find the person who is willing to show up and give us the attention and respect we truly deserve. And then I'll wrap things up with even more helpful advice from all the leading dating and relationship experts whose research I have dived really deep into, and conclude by sharing their info. You'll also find the links to their websites in the episode show notes, should you wish to immerse yourself further into their material. So, ready to find a healthier, happier you? Let's get started. Okay, I've got a lot of great content to share on how to stop obsessing over the person who's love bombed or breadcrumbed or ghosted you. But before we get there, let's explore the concept of the emotionally unavailable or avoidant attachment types. An emotionally unavailable person cannot or will not consistently connect with another person through deep conversation, showing or being receptive to another person showing emotions, and being honest about their feelings, thoughts, actions, and intentions, says Charlene Ruin, PhD, a clinical psychologist. This is taken from psychcentral.com. Indifference, avoidance, and detachment are 3 of the many signs of emotional unavailability. Learning to spot an emotionally unavailable person can protect you from toxic relationships. You may have felt somebody you care about couldn't be there for you emotionally at some point. Maybe they seem distant, unaffectionate, or uninterested. It's natural to be emotionally unavailable when you've got a lot going on or need some personal space. But what about people who frequently show up this way? We overvalue people who are not interested in us. Why? We might unconsciously seek out relationships that mirror our past experiences. If we grew up in an environment with emotionally unavailable or avoidant caregivers, we might unintentionally be drawn to emotionally unavailable or avoidant partners as a way to repeat or recreate familiar patterns. Your attachment style develops in childhood, but it can affect intimate relationships as you get older. People with anxious attachment styles, perhaps many of you listening, struggle to feel secure in their relationships. While they long to feel close to their partners, this need is often driven by fears of abandonment, mistrust, and low self-esteem. And what sucks is, if we're anxiously attached, we often end up gravitating to avoidant attachment or emotionally unavailable partners. The key is, we need to find low effort, inconsistent guys or girls unattractive and unappealing. And stop putting too much attention on somebody who isn't putting attention onto you. How do we do this? First of all, don't fear the fear of abandonment. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen if this person I'm into disappears and disengages? Spoiler alert, a big fat nothing. If you feel them pulling away, let them. They're already on the way out. Back away, match that energy. Don't commit to a person who hasn't committed to you. Another Gabby note, this is applicable to those in the early stages of dating. If somebody has been regularly showing up and being there for you, there might be something going on, so this doesn't apply. A person will rise to the occasion if they think they're going to lose something they want. And if they don't want you, I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but no amount of trying to fix or solve the situation will make it so. I found this next point to be particularly helpful. Don't take complacency personally. And please don't make up thoughts that look like they go with the situation. For example, he's like this because, she's backing away because. Their behaviour proves nothing about you. If what we've asked for is reasonable and our needs aren't able and willing to be met, we have to chalk it up to incompatibility. Honour yourself above all others when dating. Put yourself first. Don't tolerate lack of communication or effort because of a scarcity mindset that you won't find anyone better. If you are going to address anything, get out the bad feelings before communicating. Deal with the judgment in-house. People get stuck in their own patterns and don't realise or wish to see otherwise, so sometimes they do need to be called out in a kind and compassionate way without pointing the finger. But if you communicate and they choose to ignore what you say and your feelings, you don't ignore that. You should only need to tell them once. Take a step back, leave them to it. Employ discipline instead of regret. Be disciplined now to save your future self. Look at what you're setting yourself up for, if not, more of the same. Detach from guessing outcomes. Let people go. Know that you are okay as you are, and you are enough by being you, without external people influencing that. Let somebody be authentic. Detach your ego from how somebody feels about you. You be your own best friend. If you stand for nothing, then you will fall for everything. Detachment is the opposite of anxious attachment. You need to validate yourself, be attached to you, not to them. If you do not have expectations of others and know you are okay no matter what, you will find peace. Don't tolerate the pain and discomfort of now because a future fantasy is the goal. In order to find joy in life, you have to be in the moment. The people you spend time with are the people who are important. Don't get close to people who can't or won't get close to you. After a few great dates, we can see people through rose-tinted glasses. They might have had ambitions to date a person like you, but then they might have come to the conclusion that they do not have the resources to meet your needs. They may feel like they pale in comparison to you. They may realise you are not someone to have a bit on the side with. If he or she is someone with an avoidant attachment style, maybe you put them off by showing you were too keen too soon. You weren't secure, so they bounced before getting too committed. Consistency, however, should be the bare minimum. Not being consistent is taking days or weeks to reply or get in touch. A person's silence is a decision. They know what they're doing. You know everyone is on their phone. They're actively ignoring you. An emotionally unavailable or avoidant type probably wants to keep the door open so they can come back if they feel like it. And when they do, they've got all the excuses why they disappeared. Don't wait for anyone. Enjoy your life. this is how to regain control. The right person won't jeopardize wanting to be with you. If their pattern is to disappear and then occasionally pop up to keep the door open, this is often about wanting control and to control you. And it's not about liking or respecting you. Their poor behaviour should be seen as a lack of credibility. A lack of communication is not okay. Texting is the easy part. It should be the bare minimum. But if it's not progressing and that's what you want, it's the absolute worst being in limbo. Don't be at the mercy of wondering if somebody is going to follow through. We tolerate the grey area too much. Don't pretend it's fine if it's not for you. Set that person up for success by letting them know if something is not working. And then see what happens. People treat you how you let them. You don't need to settle for something that is wrong. You can bide your time because you must believe the right thing will come to you. What is attractive about somebody who is not there for you? What is attractive about somebody who does not respond to you, who doesn't reply to you, or who takes days to respond? Who's not sure about you? What is attractive about that? Before you wonder, why are you attracted to this? Wonder, why are you not put off by this instead? That is the question. We allow our mind to play tricks and we don't allow ourselves to think of the reality of someone. Quit pursuing and obsessing over somebody who isn't pursuing and obsessing over you. But how? I'm glad you asked. Obsession. Having obsessive thoughts or romantic infatuation about another person can feel all-consuming. You might spend hours daydreaming, replaying past memories, imagining future outcomes, and find yourself browsing their social media pages. It can affect your mood, work, and even your other relationships. If this sounds familiar, it's vital to get to the root of these obsessive thoughts and rid yourself of them before they significantly affect your mental health and well-being. Dismissing these thoughts as they pop into your head often isn't enough. You need to sit with yourself and address the obsession. When you're obsessing over someone you barely know, you're not obsessing over a real person. You're obsessing over the fantasy or an ideal of that person. It's most likely your imagination putting said person on a pedestal, and you're not seeing them clearly as a normal human being for who they truly are. It's important to see them as they are. You might be obsessing over what they represent to you, the life you want with somebody, but they aren't showing that to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be obsessing. You'd be living it. You can't obsess over something you already have. If it isn't available to you, then why are you obsessing over someone, again, that isn't obsessing over you? When it comes to obsession and choosing somebody that's unavailable, someone you can fantasize about, a lot of the time it's because as a child you have formed an idealized version of love in your life, and you project this into your romantic relationships. And the truth is, you will never find the idealized version of love in a true, real person because all people are flawed. No one can save you from your life but you. Are you influenced by society, movies, culture that feed the fantasy? Could it be that because you can't find a real person that makes your fantasy and fairy tale, you will start projecting that fantasy on someone that you can't get too close to? You won't be able to project a fantasy onto somebody that is really emotionally involved with you and you constantly talk to. It needs to be somebody that's unavailable or distant, that's wearing a mask where you can project whatever you want onto them. And maybe you don't have that much communication, so you have enough space and time to fantasize about them. Obsession doesn't happen with people that are available to you. They must be emotionally unavailable. It must be somebody you have to kind of fight to prove yourself to. Don't try to validate yourself by winning over that person. It won't work. Why we are attracted to emotionally unavailable people is a lot to do with our concept of our own self-worth. From childhood, you might have had to prove your worth and seek validation. So unfortunately, you've carried this forward. Limerence is a state of infatuation or obsession with another person that involves an all-consuming passion and intrusive thoughts. When in a state of limerence, you'll find that your moods very much rely on the fact that you get the type of attention that you crave from that person of your desire. And if you don't get it, you will start to feel uncomfortable and on edge and will continue to seek more positive, validating experiences from them. For the most part, when you are in a limerence state, you don't need much genuine validation that this will turn into a romantic relationship. You will analyse anything somebody does or says to interpret them as signs that you two are meant to be together. Tackle this by saying, am I intoxicated by the idea of being with them? Am I more obsessed with the idea of love with that person than the actual reality? Does their life and character traits reflect aspects of what you are missing in you and from your own life? You might understand on a cognitive level that this person is not right and these feelings are not founded, and you don't want them taking over your life anymore. So try framing this in the context of addiction, because that's what it is. You don't have to convince yourself that drugs or other addictions are bad for you. Same with a person who only gives you occasional dopamine hits. When you start to frame it in this way, you can begin to see that you are going to have compulsive thoughts and feelings coming through on a regular basis, and you can begin to look at them from a distance. I am experiencing this rather than I am this. So I'm having obsessive thoughts, not I am obsessed with someone. Someone who doesn't give you a very strong sense of self, leaves you feeling insecure, or doesn't respect that you are worthy of being in a relationship with. When you create this separation, you take back some of the control. Mitigate those thoughts and feelings and start prioritizing your own life rather than theirs. Despite I'm having these thoughts, I'm going to beat this addiction. When we crave sugar, we notice it, and if we sustain and ride the wave, the feeling will pass. This isn't any different. Eventually, it will run its course. You need to replace the negative behaviours, fantasizing endlessly, obsessive thoughts, repetitive thoughts, reminiscing about the good times, and fill your mind with more healthy behaviours. As with all addictions, you need to cut out any triggers and also not judge yourself for being in this state. The important thing is that if you're acknowledging it and trying to take steps to stop harming yourself, like listening to this podcast, for example, go you, see this as an opportunity for you to start working on yourself in a meaningful way and an opportunity for you to grow. It's helpful to think of yourself as somebody you want to help and that you have the best interests for. Non-judgmental and solution-focused, looking at the next step towards progress. This person is not a special unicorn. Understand that it's nothing about them that makes you obsessed with them. It's about you. You just chose that person because they were available just enough for you to be hopeful, but emotionally unavailable enough so that you can project all your hopes and dreams onto them. Remember, guys, everything I'm sharing, it's not the Bible. These are techniques from various sources to help you stop obsession in its tracks. Back to it. It's not about them. You're not really obsessing over the person. Tell yourself this over and over. It's likely not the first person you've obsessed about, so that's a really clear indicator and sign that this is not about that person at all. It's about yourself. Start making a difference between your own fantasy and be conscious and understand, okay, this is just my mind. This is my unmet needs, maybe some unresolved trauma. This is my form of escapism. Make a difference between your own stuff and reality. The reality is this person isn't Timothy Chalamet or Zendaya or Taylor Swift or Henry Cavill or Sam Smith or whoever. Start seeing reality. Start grounding yourself more into the present and think about this person, and I'll say it again, start seeing them for who they truly are. They're not mysterious, that's just the breadcrumbs, or a tortured poet. They might be a bit boring and have nothing interesting to say. See how it feels obsessing over that? Remove them off the pedestal by removing them from the idea of they are being so valuable. Take away your attention and you will take away the power they have. You want a return on your investment, I get that, but are they that great? Or have you just overvalued them to justify all your efforts and time spent fantasizing? Remember, you are a great person who they would be lucky to claim. You miss the energy you gave them. You're addicted to the storyline you had in your mind of this person. It's disappointing, I know. That story, though, isn't real. Again, they're not as special as you think they are. The addictive thoughts are based on fantasy, not reality. Are they thinking about you the entire day? No. Whatever you fantasized about them, it's not actually true because it's an illusion, a projection. So see them as flawed, see them again as boring, and get in touch with reality. Start meeting your own needs to start building a life that brings you meaning. Invest more energy in your goals, in your life, and you will have less time to fantasize. Those who have less time can't obsess in other directions that steer them off course. If you're listening to this and specifically wanted guidance on how to stop obsessing, I'm going to wager this person is probably no longer around, or hardly so. Your brain might be trying to cling on, but to what? Those infrequent good times? What about the rest of the time? How did they make you feel during the silence in between? You lost a future perspective, a dream future. It sucks. But the future illusion of them is becoming less and less of a possibility now. So rather than dwell or wallow, try making a new plan. What do you want to call into your future? Not just in romantic relationships, but in life, work, hobbies, interests, friends. Redirect the lens of obsession onto yourself. What can you become obsessed with instead? A hobby? A work project? Your family? Friends? Take your brain and engage it somewhere else. Imagine how you want to feel a week from now, a month, 6 months, a year. What steps can you make towards so you won't need to escape from your own life anymore? Overthinking and obsessing are mind games. It's a mistake that our brain makes, so try to notice when your mind is doing it and then change course by redirecting your thoughts to the present moment, or by realising and detaching that overthinking doesn't lead to anything good. They're probably not as irreplaceable as you might currently feel. Okay, let's talk about self-worth and rebuilding it. Think about how you would show up for your best friend. That's the attitude you should have for yourself. Value your self-worth. Know that you deserve to be treated better. Self-worth is about knowing that you are enough and that you are worthy of love and respect. Focus on your self-respect and self-value, making this less about the person and more about our own worth. Decide that you are worth being with, worth committing to, deserving of love, respect, and admiration. Start working on self-worth by understanding and believing that you do deserve to be loved just for existing, by being exactly who you are. You don't need to do anything. Just by being a good person, you deserve love and respect. When you know this, you can start building self-confidence and self-worth, and you will not accept an unavailable or slippery person anymore. Reframe bad thoughts. This is a great opportunity, for example, because this person who's ghosted me, I see them for who they are, and I haven't wasted any more time on them. Focus on the healthy relationships in your life. Get support from the positive relationships. Speaking to and spending time with friends and family members who support, encourage and respect you can offer a contrast to the relationship where you were ghosted and a reminder of what a healthy relationship looks and feels like. Do not compromise your behaviour or change. When you've got low self-esteem, you compromise yourself for the person you like. If you find yourself weakening and think, how do I not message them? How do I not chase them? Be the person that doesn't. Change your self-concept. Be it from now. Don't talk yourself into it. Just do it. Start today. You don't need a partner to make you worthy. Don't beat yourself up and feel bad anymore. Stop doing this to yourself. Surrender and accept you for who you are right now as enough. Don't ever sacrifice and abandon yourself for the sake of a connection. Our standards tell someone what to think about us. Don't think in order to get closer to someone, I need to ask for less if you don't like their behaviour. We look out at the world through a lens, and often that lens is reflected back to us. Shift something internally so it shifts externally. Get obsessed with where you are going and who you want to be and what steps you need to take to get there. You are your own self-project. Hang self-worth on your own ideas, not on anyone else. Ask yourself, why am I so bothered if somebody I don't really know is interested in me? What would it feel like to have an available, healthy person show up? And to conclude, my friends, creating an illusion of perfection in someone else's life steals joy from your own. See everyone through the lens of equality. We are all the same. See the illusions cast by our ego that you are not worthy of somebody. That person is not Beyonce. Do you really miss them? Or do you miss the potential of a life with them? Most likely, you didn't know them well enough to know if that dream story would play out. Based on their actions, if you resonate with everything we've covered today, it would have brought nothing but more disappointment, right? You're addicted to the storyline of the person, maybe. Don't attach a story onto the story. The perfect partner is a mirage we see. Mirages are an optical illusion caused by atmospheric conditions, an unrealistic hope or wish that cannot be achieved when we lack something we haven't seen in a long time. We notice them and must let them go. The search for a perfect partner means we have to work on ourselves. A relationship cannot be expected to fulfill all our needs. It only shows them to us. To give and receive love is our primary need in life. True affection includes nearness, loving presence, reliable availability. It is the opposite of abandoning and distancing. We want a partner who walks beside us in this world. People reflect back to us how we feel. You don't think I'm good enough? Because I don't think I'm good enough. Think how you want to feel and trust. Manifest how you want to feel moving forward. Reframe and see bad occurrences as something that is serving you. Partners come into your life as messengers. What do you need to learn from this experience? Remember, it's the journey, not the destination. Choose somebody who lifts you up and supports you, rather than somebody who is constantly on the threat to pull the rug from under you. Focus on what's within your control, your thoughts, your actions, your opinions. Detachment is about defining happiness on your own terms. That person who was never that good for you, stop letting them into your brain. Give yourself a break. Letting go isn't an end. It's a big step forward to what you deserve. True value stems from within and how you treat others. Our worth does not dip with anybody's neglect. Our value doesn't fluctuate on others' actions or opinions. Our value doesn't hang on if somebody is going to potentially hurt us or heal us. When we understand this, we unshackle from the heavy weight of neediness. It's no one else's responsibility to make us feel okay. Don't give anyone else the remote control to your feelings. Don't give the power away to the person who hurt you. We need to approve of ourselves, therefore the approval of others doesn't matter. So be an active participant in your own life. Rather than, why don't they approve of me? You need to reframe it to, I don't really approve of them and their behaviour. Again, prioritise your approval of yourself. You can only be certain about yourself, no one else. No person needs to envelope or take over my thoughts or bring me down. I am the master of my own experience. Whatever I am going through now, I will move through this. There's never a reason for me to fear or worry about how somebody I barely know thinks or feels about me. Opportunities, good and bad, are giving me the chance to expand. It's easy to fracture an overworked mind. By having a hobby and doing things you enjoy, you work different parts of your brain and that causes rest. Look for things to appreciate. Raise your vibrations with feeling good. Where does your happiness come from? Find joy in that. Think who you'd be if you didn't feel hurt. Get into that secure feeling and act it and behave that way until it does become how you feel. Don't be in situations you don't want to be in. You are enough. Someone outside of you cannot complete you and cannot create a sense of happiness you think you are missing in your life. No person should define you. A relationship should be the icing on an already delicious cake. If you want anyone to respect you, you must show yourself the respect you expect others to. You need to be whole and complete on your own. So when the time comes and you meet the right person for you, it's two wholes coming together rather than two halves. About the person who's disappointed you, forget them. Choose yourself. I hope that's helped, my friends. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Happier Life Project. If you've been dating someone who falls into some of these categories, I hope you'll find comfort that that person who you thought was the best thing since sliced bread, so mysterious, you can't work out what game he or she is playing. Well, now you've just had the cheat sheet. They're not actually that mysterious and alluring after all, are they? They're actually pretty textbook. Trust and have faith that what is meant for you will be for you and it will not miss you. Anything can change tomorrow, and you have a part in creating that. Resources from today's podcast episode come from the Personal Development School's Thais Gibson, Rapid Transformational Therapist Marissa Peer, Women's Dating and Confidence Coach Amber Grumbenman, Leading Dating Expert and Confidence Coach of Love Life fame Matthew Hussey, Self-Help and Life Coach and my personal fave Margarita Nazarenko, Dating Coach Evan Mark Katz, Relationship Coach and Attachment Style Expert Stephanie Rigg, and Psychological Wellbeing Practitioner Marios Georgiou. Just one more minute of your time before I say farewell, and that's for the important housekeeping. If you are suffering with your mental health, there is a crisis button on the My Possible Self app, which will signpost you to the correct information for immediate expert advice. Those of you who are listening to the Happier Life Project, not on the My Possible Self app, but on one of the podcast platforms, if you did want to download our app, it is completely free to use. You can access all of the content, so you don't need to worry about it costing you anything. If you are in crisis or you think you may have an emergency, please call your doctor or the emergency services immediately. The views and recommendations that have been expressed in this podcast are of the mentioned who I've just credited, and the content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It should not be considered as a substitute for professional or medical advice. Our partners at the Priory Healthcare are not involved in the production or content of this podcast. If you're listening on one of the podcast platforms and you haven't already left a review or subscribed, I'd super appreciate that. And if you did find this episode helpful, please do share it with any friends or loved ones that you think might benefit if they're struggling a little bit with their love lives. And to find and follow us on social media, we are at My Possible Self, and I've been at Radio Gabby. Do take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.